Jake Sturm is a 6-year industry veteran, a salon owner of 2 years, a cosmetologist, a barber, a brand ambassador, and an educator. Jake has over 200 days of professional travel within the first year as a licensed cosmetologist. As a new salon owner and new talent to the industry, we get to hear his powerful story of life, triumph over struggle, and how he built a budding salon and career. Welcome back to the Hairdresser Strong Show. My name is Robert Hughes and I am your host. And today I'm with Jake Sturm. How you doing today, Jake?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I met everybody who's listening and watching. I met Jake at Presley Poe and Friends, and we caught you outside with some of your people that you work with, right? That you're some of your staff members, and
Yep.
we did a little man on the street interview, asked you about it, and you were talking about all this like stuff, and I was like, it's really sound very interesting, and you had such a good energy and vibe and attitude, and I was like, I wonder if you would be interested in coming and doing an interview, and then like we were talking before we started the recording, and you were telling me some of the stuff about your story, and I'm like, I'm so happy that we get to share your story today. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me and giving me the space to share.
Awesome, absolutely. Okay, so first, let's just get this out of the way. Well, tell us about this 200 days of professional travel within the first calendar year of being a licensed beauty professional.
So I graduated school in August of 23, finished or got licensed in September of 23, and then it was about 6 weeks after that I had been to Hair Love Retreat, and then I also went to the Artist Summit, which is put on by the Powder Group, and I realized like what did I want to do? One of my goals after finishing school was to move 6 months after finishing school. So that would have put me at February. I got real with myself and I said, what are my intentions of this move? I wanted to travel, I wanted to network and meet new people, I wanted to continue education. And then when I really got to the root of everything, I'd been doing that. I'd been on 5 trips already, three of them while I was in school. And I was like, if that was any other person besides myself, I would have been like, holy cow, good job. Like, that's amazing. But since it was me, I was like, wait, no, I need to move. I'm not doing it. I went from 40 days booked in that next year. In 6 weeks by Thanksgiving, I had 165 days on the calendar because I realized that I was the one telling myself that I couldn't do it. Once I told myself that I could do it, I had been doing it there where I was, I didn't have to move. That was when I really 4 times my travel numbers. And then after the end of the year or after my travel time, I had logged over 200.
It's nice. So are these tell us what this exactly means. So are you providing services? Are you attending professional events? What tell us like what is the mashup of professional days?
So it is attending shows, hair shows, beauty shows, working them, getting to do demonstrations, getting to work with the product, setting up the booths, going to events. And then the other ones are going to be going to my own personal development, attending events, other people's events. And then other ones are going to be traveling locally or to other, yeah, type of thing. Not too many private clients. And more of that. Yeah.
Nice. So, when you're doing these type of things, I'm assuming you're meeting people. Is that accurate? Tell us a little bit about how that impacted, like what was the value of the professional travel? Did you make money? And then if you did, or even if you didn't, what other value did you get out of all of that travel?
So definitely puts you in the right place at the right time. It puts you where people see you, which is very valuable. It allows you to make those relationships, make those connections, and they're not made for you. I had to do half of the work and the other people had to do the other half, just like a relationship. But I definitely was showing up and able to be there, present, making sure that I was rested and showing up in the way I wanted to. You don't want to get sucked into the show circuit drama or going out partying and stuff like that. So yeah.
So, what are tell us like about one or two relationships that you made and how that's impacted you.
So one of the first, my first professional event, I was still a student, and I won a program put on by the PBA, Professional Beauty Association, called Beacon. If you are a student, a future professional listening to this right now, please pause and go apply to that program. It really did kickstart my career. It shows you what life is like beyond the chair. It is, if you're a student this year, you can still apply to it. I applied when I was 7 weeks into school, wasn't even done with core. I had to ask permission to go because of my circumstances we'll get into later. So I did the 7 part application in less than 2 days because I got approval Monday evening. It was due Wednesday, and I that was in November of 2022. I attended Beacon in April of 2023. One of the people I met was Michael DeVellis, and he's the founder of the Powder Group, and they produce education for artists, makeup artists, and beauty professionals too. They've really branched out into hair and everything. And he was someone that hired me to do all of the premiere show circuits in the next year. Um,
Nice.
yeah, so it really helped out.
Awesome. Cool. And do you just because we're on this topic, do you first of all, what school did you go to? Did you go to like a name brand school, a smaller like local school, a high school program?
So I went to Paul Mitchell's, the school Rexburg.
Okay. So so you go to Paul Mitchell School, you get into the you get accepted into the Beacon program or awarded the Beacon honored as an how would I what's the best way to say it? Awarded the Beacon
So yeah, awarded the Beacon. I
award.
won the Beacon. Yeah, I
You
won the
won.
Beacon.
Okay, you
Yeah, I
are a
won Beacon.
Beacon, right? Isn't that what is that the way to say it? You are one
Yeah,
of the
Beacon alumni. Yeah,
Beacon alumni. There we go. Okay,
yeah.
so you apply, you get it, you're going on tour, you're meeting all these people, and this was and so like we said that you've been in the industry for 6 years, but you also said you graduated in 2019 or 20 no 2022.
Yeah, 2022.
2022.
Yep,
But
correct.
you started a few years before that. So, tell us let's go with that. Let's start with that. Like t tell us about how you got into like why what was the story behind going to school because you're if you're going in 6 years ago, I mean, we don't know how old you are, and you don't have to share that number if you don't want to, but you look like you were not in high school 6 years ago. But you could have been, I guess, if you're like 24 years old, right? Or like right
Right.
after high school. So, how, like, did you always know you wanted to get into hair?
I did not actually. So I am actually 32 years old. Just a couple days ago, turned 32, and
Happy
so grateful.
birthday.
Thank you. The reason I think that's important is because I've actually been working on my first cosmetology license up until that day. And so I got licensed like 2 weeks after my birthday. And so in Idaho, they give you the first full year. So I got up until my birthday and then birthday to birthday. So I really got 23 months on my license. And so I just barely got 24 months as a licensed cosmetologist. And if you look at all of my things growing up, I wanted to be a doctor. I was pre-med on that route until 20 years old. But to get through there, I was a swim instructor and a lifeguard, pool manager, all of that for 8 years. Ran my own private swim lesson group as well, and had about 43 kids in that group. When I moved, about two-thirds of them had some sort of special needs or behavior challenge. And I really got to hone in my abilities there. I moved from Salt Lake, Utah to Idaho, near Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and owned a restaurant for 6 years. Did
Owned a
that.
restaurant.
Yep. So owned and operated a restaurant from 20 to 26 and didn't have experience in the restaurant. So had a lot of learning curves and challenges for that
Hold
as
on. I
well.
gotta ask, how did you open up a restaurant? You where like did someone just give you a restaurant? You know, like how?
So it was one of my it was a partner that I was with, and we uh he was ending his, like, he had ended his relationship, and so he moved to Salt Lake to give them the house, let his stepdaughter finish high school her senior year, and then I moved in with him. We ended up going back up there and just getting the opportunity to purchase a little takeout shack. So we had that for 5 months, and then we were at home on the little break, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, like the local restaurants for sale." I'm like, "Okay, what up? Like, who cares?" He's like, "Well, we have to at least call." I'm like, "No, we don't." And so he called. They did a big price drop from 250,000 to 60,000, and we
Wow.
purchased the restaurant and then operated it for 5.5 years.
Wow, nice. Did
Yeah.
you have to do any financing for that? Or you were
Um,
able to put up, you had the cash?
So luckily, my partner at the time, he had the cash. He had
Nice.
the revenue. He had the previous business, or he still has that business. But he yeah, we had uh, one of his RVs had burnt down when we were actually on a trip,
Oh,
and so that helped him. That gave us a little bit of it. Thankfully, no
gotcha.
one was hurt, and we were
Yeah.
able to salvage a little bit of the stuff and still make the trip. But it definitely, that helped get a little bit, and then he was able to replace it with a little, like, yeah, that type of stuff. So
Yeah, and I'm sure having had the experience in the business, and I feel like that probably is helpful. At least
yeah,
some of the people we've interviewed have been able to leverage their current business to, get financing to open up another one. It's getting that first business sometimes is the really tough one. Okay, sorry. Okay,
definitely,
that
yeah.
detour. All
So
right. So
yeah,
anyway, you had a restaurant for 6 years.
yeah. So I missed working with kids. I really enjoyed it. And I still got to work with kids, in the restaurant industry. But one of my friends was working at a residential treatment facility that was pretty local to where I live. And basically, it's like a boarding school that they don't get to choose to go to. It's a facility, but for special needs behavior challenge kids, they get placed there. Um, because of school district placement or DFS placement. And so I applied there, was accepted or hired, and then in 3 weeks they posted that they were hiring for a supervisor. I did what my parents taught me: you show that you're interested. So I applied. There was about 10 applicants, and everyone had worked there for over 5 years prior. And for whatever reason, I was lucky enough to get the position. So I got the supervisor position, one of the two. And that was like 4 weeks after starting at that point. And then I got to, as one of the things as a supervisor, you would buzz the kids' hair if they needed a haircut. And I asked the principal, I was like, "Well, why are we buzzing them?" Like, to me, we're restraining the kids. They're being taken out of their homes. They're being told they need to fix the trauma that was bestowed upon them, not their choice. But we're telling them they need to act like adults. But how are we treating them? Doesn't sound like an adult to me. Sounds like, when we're shaving them, we're treating them like sheep. So I asked the principal, "Can I actually try and like cut their hair?" And he's like, "Yeah, if you fuck up, you'll just buzz it like you were going to." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, you're right." And so the first kid, I was like, "Hey dude, what do you want for your haircut?" And he's like, I want pompadour." And I was like, "What? You're from the middle of Wyoming. You're not gonna be round brushing your hair, doing the style." And he's like, "No, I just like the way that it like lays against my face like this. And I feel like I'm emo." And I was like, "Stay less." That's literally why I wanted to do this. So I went to the University of YouTube and learned how to over direct backwards. And that was, or set your guide then over direct backwards. And that was the first haircut that I did. and many more after that. So, and I
That's
guess because of
amazing.
yeah, because of COVID, it really worked out. Other states, it was a state funded program for all of these facilities. So other states actually shut down their whole program. So I got to have lots of experiences because we learned, or the facility learned how to take other states' kids. And so I got a couple of students that maybe I wouldn't have normally had a lot of that hair texture there. So even when I started school, I had more experience, thankfully, with different textured hair or just my hands and hair than sadly some people had finishing school.
So let's I just want to touch
Excuse
on
me.
this. So the cool thing is like as we get deeper into your story, that we get to hear all the things you're doing now and all the different things in the works, and I think that's really exciting. So for all the viewers and listeners right now, this is there's like two things, like there's like stuff we're talking about now, and then there's the stuff that we're going to talk about, like the things you're doing now. So this is like your origin story. And it's like, and so, and part of this is like the cool, like the thing that, I am like a technocrat when it comes to hair cutting. I am like, I like to nerd out. I'm classically trained. I'm an academy instructor, and and but I'm also like very aware that that is one way to get to the end result. And we live in a world like now where like Pivot Point did this research paper about education, and they were saying how today's student wants the end result. Uh, they don't want the process. They're bored with the process because they're so used to like the screens coming up and giving you all the answers and everything, especially now with AI, the world of AI. But mainly it's like the world of pictures. It's like we see the end result and we just, how did you get there? And so anyway, my point is that I'm very curious to dig into this, which I think probably be a separate conversation about like the evolution of hairdressing and becoming of like the modern day like approach to learning how to do your craft, and like the push for so many people to want to be independent and they want to blaze their own trail. And so a lot of times like that gets translated into I need to figure it all out by myself, just watching videos. I don't need to go through like training programs and stuff like that. And I think that a whole other world that I don't have a lot of exposure to. And so I'm curious to know like learning in YouTube and like and then going to school after you've been already doing hair, and then going in and opening up a salon. First of all, you graduated school and then you opened up a salon. So did you open up a salon after you graduated?
So actually, I purchased the salon that I've been attending since as a client since 2018. I had been working there September of 2019, or sorry, working there September of 2023, and then purchased it the following January. So
Okay. So
yeah,
I want to hear that story too. But okay, so pretty quickly you're the rate of your moving is like significantly like hockey stick, like up and to the right,
right.
and that is not normal. And so I think that's also an interesting part of your story. Okay, so now that I've laid that groundwork, let's get back into what we're talking about here. So you're working with special needs kids. You get a chance to
Yep.
play around with doing different hair, and you're like, that's what I want to do. And okay, so you take it up from there.
Yep.
Sorry.
So I was actually attending school. I was doing a dual licensing program to become a teacher. So I was doing I was becoming an educator or elementary educator, K through 12, sorry, K through 6, and then special education, K through 12, mild to moderate. Um, I actually quit the facility in March of 2022 because they were wanting, as one of the trainers, they didn't want me to do it my way or the way we were supposed to. They wanted to do it the way that worked for the budget. And when it's people's licenses online, the budget doesn't matter. When it's people's lives, like we need to take care of our people. So I unfortunately parted ways with the facility and started working at the local elementary school as a permanent substitute. I was planning on doing my student teaching there that fall. I was pretty bored with life, actually. I felt like I was not showing up as myself and I was just kind of screwing people over. I mean, I was doing things wasn't really proud of, and I was just making decisions to get that exhilarating choice or the exhilaration adrenaline rush. And I actually got my last DUI. So I had three within 5 years. I got my last one May 11th of 2022. Best thing that ever happened to me because it allowed me to realize what I was doing. And each one, I said I had three, each one I've earned, each one got worse because it was a second and third. However, and I'm grateful for all three of them. The last one really helped me because I had to do 30 days jail time after that. So I had 56 days between when I got it to when I was sentenced. And that was like the hardest 56 days of my life. I am very fortunate that I've never had to deal with not getting out of bed because of chemical imbalances. It was my choices the couple times I didn't. And so was able to, I decided that was my rock bottom. I didn't want to find a trap door. I was like, how much worse can it get? And so I was like, this is it. Like, it can't get much worse. And so I decided to use that time to get better and to just really focus on what I was doing. I was sober for 511 days, and it was wild because I got my DUI on May 11th after I was done with drug court and everything else. I was ready to break my sobriety. I really felt like I had it. And I was like, how many days has it been since May 11th? And I Googled it and I was like, holy cow, 511. Wow. Like, I mean, crazy. And
That is
so,
crazy.
yeah, and my mom actually, so I did 30 days jail that summer, and then I had to do 28 days house arrest. And that was yeah, the summer of 23. I decided when I was in jail that I was like, I don't want to be a teacher in the public school system. And I'm very grateful the first day of school, my program, my school had me read the standard and code ethics. So it says that you will agree to live the standards of a teacher in your personal and professional life as well, but your personal because it's still a community role, that you still have to do that. So I kept thinking, like, I don't want anything to hold me back or to make me feel like I can't be myself because I've had that before previous jobs and stuff. And I was like, could I still be a teacher? Probably, but I don't think I would have been happy. I saw the writing on the wall, saw behind the scenes, kind of the same thing when I didn't want to be a doctor. I got to do lots of job shadowing. I saw the behind the scenes, lifted the golden curtain or whatever, and saw everything else. And I was like, nope, not worth it. That's not the mold I want to go. That's not the route. And it was hard to make all of those pivots, but I've pivoted. And a common theme I like to say is I bet it all on me versus betting it all on them. I felt like I had to fit the mold of um, a restaurant person, or a doctor or a teacher. And it's like, I'm going to go to the beauty industry because at this point, there is no mold. Like, what's the mold of a hairdresser? Quirky, weird, fun, energetic. Okay, cool. But at this point, right? Like, there's no mold. And like you said, I tell people, that I've had a very accelerated, non-linear path. And I feel like when people have seen me around at the events, I get some looks. They're like, kind of like, who the heck is this guy? Right? Like, who does he think he is? And a lot of but I've had people tell me, like, you're not hustling. You haven't hustled in this industry long enough. You haven't done the 10-year hustle to make it. And it's like, but I've hustled in other ways. My experience is universal, and I'm choosing to use it as such rather than just limiting that experience to the restaurant or limiting that experience to when I was going to be a teacher. It's like, what are you talking about? Within 2.5 years of dropping out of school to be a teacher, I am actually under contract with a brand as their educator, which is, I'm so grateful, like I'm forever grateful. And honestly, I was worried about losing my license as a regular teacher in the public school system or other ways. That is almost what they love about me, and I get to celebrate. And they're obviously, they understand life happens. People don't want me to make more mistakes or more choices like those, but they sell it. They know everyone has had a past, and we're all just trying to do better once we know better. And they celebrate you for that, and that's what I really love.
This is such a great story. So so you're like pre-med, and then you're like, I don't want to do that, and then you end up running a restaurant, and then going into a second restaurant, and then you go into teaching, and then you have this major like the teaching was so where in the timeline did the teaching and the third DUI and the time you had to serve, like what came before?
So I actually I got my DUI May 11th of 2022, and then my second one was May 13th the previous year. So second and third were less than a year apart, which is wild.
Right.
And um they uh I was in jail from July 6th to August 5th. So basically summer break. And
Oh, okay.
I missed one day of work when I actually got it. But then I showed up on Friday and apologized, and my boss wasn't happy at the time. And I was kind of I didn't explain the situation. If I would have explained the situation, it would have been easier. However, I yeah. And then I was actually able to probably still work at the school if I wanted to. But I was starting cosmetology school in October of that year, and they didn't want someone just part-time. So I was like, well, we might as well cut odds now if you don't want someone, half for 2 months. And she's like, I'd rather just get someone for the full contract. So,
Yeah.
but I dropped
Okay.
out like in August of that year when I started cosmetology school.
Okay, so I think we got the timeline now. And then you go and then you have this life-changing experience where you also you were telling me beforehand you were also doing some hair while you were serving your time. And
Yep.
that you so you had this experience. You're it's kind of like it was what the kids. It was when you're in during your time, and then you get out and you go right into school. It sounds like.
So, yeah, I got out in August, had to do 28 days house arrest. I wanted to start school in August, but my PO was actually a little mad at me, probation officer, because I had failed a drug test. I was not drinking before jail, but I was still smoking weed. And so I failed my first drug test because I was looking at 60 days in jail, but the judge wanted to get me started on drug court. So he only gave me 30. So when I got out of jail and I got drug tested, it was still positive. And he was like, you haven't been smoking for like 90 days. And I said, well, actually, I was only being like breathalyzed before, not drug tested. So I was still using weed.
Right, right.
And then, so he actually didn't let me start school. He told me that I had to be at home or at the meetings, like whatever meetings, but that was like my rules. So, although now that I ask other like POs and the judge, he was saying I should have been able to start school in August. However, I'm forever grateful because my mom passed away in October of that year. And so I would have been, it was 2 days before I started school. I got to go down there and be with her for 8 days while she was in a coma and spend the time with her. Um, that will, and so let me back up. I got one sanction in September. So if I would have started school in August, and it was because of that positive test that I got sanctioned. So if I would have started school in September or August, I would have had to call my school and say, "Hey, I'm in jail. I'm not going to be able to make it." It would have been excused, which would have been okay, but it would have been embarrassing still. I would have done it for I would have done anything. And so I was bummed I didn't get to start in August. However, I made do. And then once, you might not understand why life is happening to you or for you at the time, but like 2020 hindsight. And so it's like I really was able to have that time with my mom. And because I was sober, I don't think I would have been excessively drinking or anything, but I would have definitely been smoking. So I would have been going down to the parking lot and not been there with her the entire time. That the 8 days when I had to make that decision as her medical power of attorney, that and when I got to make that decision, I know and I will forever know that I couldn't have made a better decision. I
That's
made the decision that she wanted me to make or needed me to make, not that I wanted as her son, but that I needed to make for her. And I will forever be grateful for that. And that's just one of the little, many, many things of how this has changed my life for the better, truly.
yeah. Wow. This wow, that's amazing. That's so amazing. Like the way things unfold and the experiences and the life that we have, and the people that are in them and the things we take for granted and then like you said in hindsight being able to look back and see those things that maybe we were taking for granted at the time, but how grateful we are that we were there, and that's or had that experience. That's so amazing. Okay, so we have you. All right, so I feel like we've gotten like this origin story, at least the high level stuff, but and like the big stuff. It sounds like. What are you? Tell us about your salon. How many people do you have? How many chairs do you have? How many stylists do you have? Are you hiring? Are you not hiring? What do y'all specialize in? Give us a little the rundown of that.
Okay. So we have 9 stations right now, and I had 3 full-time stylists. Now I have two. My third one just moved to Texas with her husband, and so excited for him, but definitely hiring as well. We had 4 weddings on the books last year. This year we're over 30. So I've
What?
had to
That's
build, yeah,
huge.
it's crazy. Yeah, no, it's insane. I'm so grateful for that too. And so I've had to build like a bridal team, and that also is incorporating people I've went to school with. I get to hire someone I went to core with. Both of them work at different salons, but they get to be a part of my bridal team, and I'm so grateful for that too. I'm the only licensed barber right now. The other two are Cosmos, and then both of them are working on their barber license. One of them has done her program, just has to take the test. The other one's working on the program, and we specialize. We love texture. I am like the curl guy in the valley. Even before I started perming my hair, I never thought I'd get curl, because I have to bleach. Well, I bleach my hair because I'm pretty ditzy at times and like space cadet. So I can't be like, oh, sorry, I'm so silly. My hair is curly. Like I have to be like, it's blonde. I have to enhance it, right? And so one of the brands I work with, and I'm an educator with Curl Cult, they've allowed me to do both. So I get curly blonde hair now, which is amazing. But definitely, uh, it's been amazing. We get to do that. We specialize also. One of the girls is an amazing, amazing colorist, and the other one is amazing at men's fades and extensions. And it's been so cool getting to be their client, then the stylist, and then getting to be their salon owner, but also a co-stylist as well. And so it's been absolutely amazing.
Nice. So, how do you run the business? Is like, what's the business model? Are they independent? Are they employees?
So it is commission based.
Okay.
And my salon's called Salon Blaq, by the way.
Okay.
I kept the name from the previous owners, and I'm the third owner, and I absolutely love it. I loved it, like I said, as a client, and now I love that I've gotten to put my own spin on it, but still keep the little things that I love and really just enhance it and kind of update it, bring it up to scale, with offerings that the Valley, I live in a small area. And so I brought a lot of continued education in that we've never even had anything close to education in the valley. The closest classes are 45 miles away, and I've brought in many of classes, and so it's been really amazing to get to do that.
Nice, cool, awesome. And do you all have support staff? Do you all do your own shampoos, check people in? Do you use online booking?
So we are, I'm in the process of getting online booking going. It's the hard part for us is releasing that control of custom booking, like where,
Oh,
because you get people who 15-minute haircuts versus an hour, or whatever, that type of thing. So just figuring out which pathway to go forward with that. But we do not actually have any support staff either. One of our stylists will sometimes double book colors and such. But we typically all take our own. I am working on an assistant program and bringing that on for our next person, because I just want to make sure that I know my client. I know my stylist, so I can trust them with our clients.
and you're in Idaho, right?
Yep. So it's
Yeah.
Driggs, Idaho. It's like the southeast corner.
Okay.
It's right between Rexburg, Idaho, and like Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So
Okay.
like you have like Yellowstone, Grand Teton National Park. We're just on the other side of the Tetons.
Nice.
Yeah.
So in Idaho, what are the rules around assistants? Like I know like in some states, like a person can't even shampoo unless they're licensed. Can you but in like Virginia, you can be an apprentice, a licensed apprentice, and you don't even have to go to school. You can do your hours at a salon and then you can take the test once you hit your hours. It's more hours, but that's what I did. I didn't go to school. So what is the rule there? Do you know?
So it's 1,600 hours for cosmetology, and then they don't have, uh, to my knowledge, there's not the assistance version. Like you can't do the
Okay.
assistant or the other route.
Apprentice. Yeah.
Yeah, apprentice. Thank you, Russ. Draw blank.
Yeah.
Because I know in Utah it's double the hours, so it would be like 3,200 hours is what you have to do for the apprentice program. And so I haven't heard of anything like that in Idaho. I do know that if you are wanting the hours for, like, one of the previous owners, they were a barber instructor. They would have maybe some old stylist using a razor tried to get around it by saying, "Oh, we're instructors. They're in the barbering program." However, the back room doesn't count as a classroom. So you have to make sure that you have all of those in place
Gotcha.
because
Okay.
yeah, that was like a strike against them. So they don't have, to my knowledge, they don't have that program.
So creating like having an assistant program or slash associate program where you can train people up and get them ready for the floor to work at your salon, they would most likely be either students in school or recently graduated. Is that right? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess the program I'm hoping to build or building is, um, just to ensure that a recent graduate is going to know all of the services that we do. Basically, just an official onboarding training to the salon, rather than just taking someone from school and being like, okay, here we go, ask all the questions you want. I want to make sure that I'm doing my due diligence to our guests and making sure that they have that level of standard or the level of care, the minimum standard that I hold, for our guests.
Nice. Nice. Cool. Well, okay, so I feel like we have the foundation. We kind of got like the salon vibes. So what else? I know we're kind of like just past our time here. You got a few more minutes so we can wrap this up and hear what's going on now? You're good?
Absolutely.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
All right, cool. You know, what's funny is I haven't had someone tell me no, and I feel like one day someone's be like, "No, I gotta go."
Like, actually, I'm busy.
Actually, and this is live or not or recorded, whatever. Anyway, so not to put you on the spot, I hope that you do have the time, but you did tell me you had a little
Definitely.
extra time already.
Yeah.
So for the
Mhm.
record, since this is recording, so. What are you doing now? Tell us, like, what's going on now? We mentioned brand ambassador, we mentioned educator. Tell us a little bit about the brand ambassador and the teaching, and who you're with, and what's on the horizon for you.
Yeah. So I have been working with the Powder Group since actually 2024. And I'm teaching a class for them in December online via Zoom. So they'll be one of the first that I kind of started working with, traveled a lot with at shows, premiere shows, other types of events, and then I'm getting to do a class for him. Um, and that's like a makeup focus group, or it was built around that. So it's really cool getting to teach a hair centered class there. And then the brand that I'm an educator for is Curl Cult. I met Janine when I was at Hair Love Retreat last year. And that was in 2024. I went up to her afterwards and I was just like gobsmacked. I love texture, I love perms. Before, like I said, didn't think it was possible to get my hair permed. And I went up to her. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to use this. If what you've said is like true, holy cow!" Just like mind blown. And she sent me a message, or she's like, "Hey, send me a message on Instagram. I love your enthusiasm. I just love everything about like what you've said. I can tell you're passionate. Once you get a couple perms under your belt and start using the system, I want to, kind of bring you on board at some capacity." And then I just kept showing up, telling her like, "Oh my gosh, this like truly just being genuine and truly being authentic." And it's to the point to where I've had one of my bosses say like, "It took me a minute to realize if you were being genuine or not," because I've had so many people like kind of uh get one over on him, right? Or get in and then show that they're not really who they were presenting themselves to be. And I will say he was maybe a couple, one or two liquid courages in. And so I was a little nervous when the conversation first started because, when you start hearing that, it's like, wait, what? Like, but then hearing, like, realizing the genuinity behind it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's so cool. It's good to know. And good to be aware of for that aspect too. So then, that was a big thing.
So
What?
I want to just double down on what
Yeah.
you just said because for the audience listening who wants to work with a brand, you just gave so much. There's like huge like gemstones right there. What this is what I heard. I'm gonna interpret what I heard and turn it into advice. If you want to work with a brand, make sure you go where the brand representatives are. So like you should probably be going to events, professional events. You should be going up to the people at the booths or going into the breakout rooms or the classes or the presentations, whatever. And then it sounds like you stuck around afterwards and went up and talk to the person. You were excited, you were enthusiastic, but you weren't doing this because you heard it on this show, and you're like, oh, if I act this way, then I'll get this. Because the other side of it is when you get in the you're getting the like the inside scoop saying like, oh, by the way, I like you because you're actually who you present yourself to be, and you wouldn't believe how many people present themselves to be people they're actually not. And so like just kind of like put that out there, like you heard it here. This is a living example, breathing example, and yeah, that is like great advice for anybody because it's not just new talent who wants to get work with brands. There are people that have been doing hair, as long as I've been doing or longer, that want to start getting in working with brands, and they have the same question. So anyway, sorry, I just wanted to
Yeah. No, you're good.
land double down on that, make sure that landed with everybody.
Yeah. And I mean, always offer, right? The worst thing that people can say is no. I mean, or thank you. I'll keep that in mind. And once again, I extend the offer to people that it's genuine to, that I really mean it. And I will follow through with that. I mean, that's kind of, about community. I couldn't do this alone. I love Presley Poe and Hairdresser, they have uh, a sweater that is community over competition, and I'm hoping that I'm kind of been in the works with talking to Presley a little bit and of enhancing that design and doing a collab because it just speaks to me. And actually, I made the same poster a little different. I put community versus competition, but did like an underline and strike through. I was like, holy, like what? And so it was really, really cool. And so truly, like, I don't know, I'm never gonna know everything, right? I'm a forever student. If you're in a class, one of the first classes we had in the salon, I was so excited. One of our stylists had never attended a class except online. I was like, "What do you think of the class?" She's like, it was okay." I'm like, "Well, don't you want to be a stylist or an educator?" And she's like, "Yeah." So didn't you learn what you could do as a presenter or educator or what you didn't want to do? Like everything is going to be a learning opportunity if you use it as such. And going to the shows, kind of the same thing. I always feel like kind of like you were saying, we were talking a little before, you were so tired because what you don't realize is that hosting the event, you're on all the time. Even when I'm at a show, if I'm in my room by myself, I get to kind of turn off the show, Jake, and get my R&R a little bit. But when you're attached to your phone, you still, you're hosting and everything, you can't do that. And so it is something that when I've shared a room versus had my own room for those types of shows, I've even realized it. 2 in the morning when you're trying to nurse your hangover or trying to sober up, if you have to go fill your water bottle, you might pass someone in the hallway who you don't know or they don't know you, but you could see them the next day. So if you don't have your shoot, like I go that deep because you really
Yeah,
have to, I mean,
a
and so
hundred
it's like,
percent.
yeah, I mean, when I was in school and I met Win for the first time, Win Claybot, he goes, "Oh, don't you think like I people don't realize that I actually go to your Instagram. I look at who you're following. I look at who is following you, but I also know that who you're following depicts your feed, your explore page." And that was really powerful to hear someone, and I'm not the biggest fan of social media. I'm working on my relationship with social media. But truly, to hear that aspect that people go that deep into looking at how you're showing up by who you're following, like it's wild. Because our energy, our intention, that is what we have, and that's what we have to give and exchange.
I love all this. So I live in a little like village. It's like the East Village and the West Village, and it's surrounded by water and like valleys and bridges. It's kind of isolated. I mean, it's we're in DC, but it's this little double dual village called Georgetown, and there's like a corridor that goes out of Georgetown. There's one corridor that goes out, but the only way to get out of Georgetown for the most part is crossing a river or some sort of bridge or something. And so my point is I live and work in Georgetown. And so like I was leaving the bar one day recently, and I was like, one of these days I'm gonna run into I knew a couple clients who live a block away. And I'm like, one of these days I'm gonna walk into Streets, which is like our local bodega type of convenience store, and and to get like a salad for my dinner or whatever. And I'm like, one of these days I'm gonna walk in, I'm gonna run into somebody. So it's like I'm like, like make sure I look good everywhere. Like I can't be slumming it. I can't walking around my own neighborhood. Like I
Right.
represent my coworkers. I represent my brand. I represent my clients. I represent the salon that I am at. And so like so yeah, no, I love that. I it's like, but I never even thought about it at a show walking through the hallway in like your pajamas thinking you're just gonna go grab, you're not alone. Like
No, and half the time it could be an awkward exchange and not awkward, but like they're kind of feeling the same thing. And it's like you never know who you're gonna work with in the future. You never know that type of stuff. And so it is just one of those things that, people are like, oh, you're traveling so much, like it must be so fun, like it's a blast, it's a dream come true. I feel like every one of my careers, my favorite part of that career has been molded into this. Like truly, I'm so grateful I get to do this. I didn't think that life could be this amazing and you could enjoy work. My dad's a state employee. He did it for the benefits and the schedule, right? I don't have kids like he did, so I don't have to do it for the benefits or the schedule. And I've gotten to kind of go on whims, and I guess I was on paper my parents like Eagle Scout, uh straight A student, honor roll kid, right? The one that was supposed to make it big, be the doctor. And well, I'm being authentic and true to me, and I'm grateful for that. And it's like, I don't know. Beacon really did show me that it shows the life beyond the chair. You get to curate whatever you want. And one of the people I met there as well, her name's Erin Kuhn, and she was silver spoon fed. She said, grew up her parents very wealthy. She flunked out of college after 3 semesters. Her parents cut her off. At 21, she was homeless after being like rich, right? She was there 7 years later at 28, and she was selling a program that she has created. We're telling us about a program that she's created, and it was about how she got her money, how she made her first money, got her budget back after not knowing anything about money. And she was a self-made multimillionaire at that point, 7 years later. And it was like she was not a licensed cosmetologist or anything. She has created this and was helping us learn it as well. And then now it's on Pivot Point, but then also she was like, once I do it here, I'm going to real estate and doing it here. And it was amazing, truly. Another one is Kira Doyle. She does human design. She was working in corporate beauty industry. And within 2 years of quitting that job, they hired her to go and do a meeting on human design for the top CEOs. And they were like 2 years prior, we're like, who, what are you're doing what? You're quitting this for what? And then less than 2 years later, they're like, actually, we want to hire you for that. And it's like, whoa. And the intro to my book, when I wrote it on my mom's birthday this year, it started because I was like, what makes this story special, realistically, really, what does? And it's me. It took me 31 years to realize that, when I've been told that by so many different people. And it's like it was me having the gratitude to share it and the courage to share it, and it's been amazing.
This has been great. So, I think this has been a pleasure to hear and get a chance to share your story. And I definitely want to have you back on in the future if you're up for it to talk about. One, I want to talk about like education and the modern age. I think it could be maybe a roundtable. Maybe we could get like a couple, maybe one or two other people involved to just kind of like chat it up because I wanna dive into that. But before we go and and to wrap it up, I want to know like what pieces of advice would you have for a new talent, like a rising stylist, um, who is looking to do they're looking for a dynamic career and they got the entrepreneurial gene or the bug, if you will, and so that person, and then maybe like maybe something to a new salon owner, someone's just starting out. You know, you're still you're 2 years in, so maybe you have some thoughts for that, like what's worked for you, and or maybe a pitfall to watch out for that you didn't foresee, if there's something like that. Um, and then uh, and then anybody who wants to go and work for a brand. So the student with the entrepreneurial bug, the aspiring or soon to be or in the works salon owner, and then someone who wants to work with a brand.
Okay. For the students, I I like to tell students when I'm at shows and stuff, um, reach out to the people that you're looking up to. They are people too. When you famous people, celebrities, fa- people we look up to, they are real people. They are people just like us. they wanted to be, most of them wanted to be treated as such. And it's you, when I've seen other people go up and just like I get a little nervous too, but I realistically realize I take a deep breath, I guess, before I go up to them. I'm just like, hey, I'm a student. I've seen your work here, or I love this. I try and make a genuine, authentic connection. I've had a lot of people say, don't go in and say, will you be my mentor? Because it puts a little awkward situation for them because it's like, what if they say no, kind of like we were just saying. But it's like, explain to them why. I'm a why person. I want to know the why. Explain to them what stuck out to you or what you're hoping to learn, or get out of the experience. Because a lot of the times it's going to be a transaction, right? What are you wanting from them? What are you wanting to give them in hopes of a return? And so I guess don't get discouraged, but also make sure that who you're looking up to aligns with you and is like who you can see yourself being with or being a part of their future timeline. I don't believe in ever following someone's path, but we all kind of crisscross in each other's path. And so I think that's important. Always be a student. Don't ever think that you know everything, um, are good ones. And then for the salon owner, uh, I think it's important to admit when you're wrong. I mean, or admit when you didn't do something. This morning, I woke up to a text message and I actually, because we had 30 weddings this season, this year, going from 4 to 30, I probably didn't have to do the same thing I had to do with 4 that I have to do now. And so I actually missed a preview. I forgot to delete a preview off of my busiest stylist books. And that was like a 2 hour preview that she could have had 2 other clients. She texted me, she goes, hey, I haven't gotten, like, we haven't heard from her. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I called her. I was like, you know what? It was when I revamped the system. This was hopefully the last big mistake. But I told the bride as well, you're the last one I'm revamping. I kind of had to put them in order of as they came so I could make sure I was doing my due diligence and giving the energy and effort to each one. Um, but I just told my spouse, like, I'll take care of you. I'm like, so sorry. It won't be wasted time. It was my mistake. But also she reached out to the bride and the bride's like, we didn't have a preview confirmed. And I was like, well, I didn't just put the preview on like her books for nothing. Like when I was talking to my stylist, I'm like, I called you because I don't want you to think that I just randomly thought this. Like I probably talked to her on the phone. We scheduled the preview, but I never confirmed it. So I called her, apologized. I was like, I am truly so sorry. So even today, I'm admitting that I did something, I messed up, but it just shows that they are a priority to me. Maybe I forgot something, but it's like I do owe them that because I messed up and I'm not perfect. I know they're not perfect. I hope they know that. I tell, they're perfectly them and I love that. And I just hope that it shows that I get the patience and give the patience that I hope I get in return. Um, and I think it's huge to support, celebrate. Everyone just wants to be heard, seen, and loved, right? And that's the biggest thing. The littlest things need acknowledgement. The biggest things need acknowledgement, and I always try and do that. Truly, truly. For someone that wants to work with a brand, don't just pick any brand. Like literally, the reason I'm working with Coral Cole is because I did 17 perms in school. People knew I was that perm guy. In school, I was the one. And in the salon, texture guy. I love all things texture. I always told people my hair was the straightest part of me. And then after my first perm, Carla was taking out the rods. I'm like, oh no, what am I supposed to do? And she's like, what? I'm like, I used to tell people this. And she's like, I think you still can. And I was like, oh, okay, good. Secretly, though, what people don't know is that is honestly a testament to my clients. If they don't laugh, I probably don't schedule them with me. Like it's a good true tell. I will schedule them with a different stylist. Not because anything's wrong, but it's because if they can't even laugh at that, then they're not going to laugh at the other things. Not saying they're not my cup of tea. I'm probably not their cup of tea, which is okay. So I also think knowing not every stylist or not every client is going to be my client. And that could go back to the other person, to the student as well. Because honestly, when I started at this salon before owning it, the previous stylist before me had 5 months. She was nervous when I started. She was like, but like, we need a list every day of back and forth, every walk in. And I was like, okay, like that's cool. That whatevs, you know. Not even 2 weeks later, they hired somebody after me. And I was like, okay, like whatevs. She'd been in the industry 12 years, I believe, was a colorist. Like, yikes. So I'm not getting all the walk-ins, right? However, I realize not every client's gonna be mine, not every client's gonna be hers. It might take them one or two more appointments to find me, but they'll still find me. So I wasn't really ever nervous. So community over competition, big, 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 equals compersion. Just kidding. No, not just kidding. That's true. But so I think that one's a big one. But really, like, say yes to opportunities because you can learn from the opportunities, but don't agree to every agreement or every like contract, right? Because I don't want to say no, but like when it comes to brands that you want to work with, does it align with you? It made sense for me. I use the product. Curl Pull, I use it. The other brand I work with is Active. It's a hair regrowth system. The reason how I kind of got on with them was I, 31 years old, was doing the normal hair loss. However, my hair loss after perming my hair went all the way back to here, which you can see. I have all of this hair regrowth now, and that is because of Active. I had that after 4 weeks. I reached out, like I went online, wanted to learn about it, got certified. I filled out the application because I couldn't find much information. They were revamping their certification process because they've done a lot of research since. Filled out the application to be an educator. I figured if there was anything I could learn, or kind of the same thing when I applied as a supervisor, right? I wanted to learn the right information. And they got back to me and said, hey, we love your enthusiasm. Like, keep in contact with us. I was like, absolutely. I just love this product. I want you guys to know I'm grateful for it already. Like, what is this sorcery? And I just can't wait to know more about it, you know? And then I got an email back saying that they were launching a brand ambassador team and that they were going to forward my emails to the person that was in charge of that team, and she was so excited with my enthusiasm. She could tell it was genuine and everything with it, that after a phone call they extended the brand ambassador deal with me. It was going, and then I'd seen them at shows since then and gone up to them, introduced myself to the team that I didn't know. I was like, hey, like I'm working with you guys, like so excited. And then just helping them out at the shows, if they need help, checking in, saying hi, good morning, that type of stuff. Like I don't want to say common sense, but it's like what I just try and always check the boxes for me. Um, and it's just being authentic and genuine, There not every brand wants a Jake. Every brand wants this and that. And so you have to find that. Don't try and biggest thing there, I think, is don't try and fit the brand. Like we are our own brand and our like we all our clients and people that we help like look to us and all everyone else. And so it's like I'm not gonna mold myself to fit a brand. Now I might like not say the F word as much. That's not molding, that's but yeah, I think that's the biggest thing.
Cool. Awesome. This is good. Well, thank you so much. I feel like there's definitely some people who learned some things and got some piece of advice, and everybody else got a chance to really get and connect with you and your story. And thank you so much for opening up and being willing to share everything. It really was a pleasure talking to you and having you on the show today.
Thank you. And just really quick, I said it to you earlier. Uh, I love, I think one of the biggest thing is giggling out loud, right? Hashtag GOL. It's going to be my biggest thing. I have stickers and everything. Um, you can laugh at someone, you can laugh with someone. You can't giggle at someone, but you definitely can giggle with someone. It almost puts that innocence back in the intentions, and it just makes sure the genuine and authenticity is there. And if you guys ever have any questions or want to reach out or anything, I have been told I give good advice. When I was helping my mom through mom and dad separation, talked to her for 2.5 hours, and I'd be like, holy shit, where'd that come from? Like, I don't even know where that came from. Like, I'd be writing notes down with what I'd tell her. So if you guys ever need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out on Instagram. Jake's hair page, all one word, my hair page. And then we have Jake's makeup page or the salon page.
Awesome. And I'll make sure all that information is in the description below. Definitely feel free to reach out. And yeah, until next time, Jake, thank you
I
so
can't
much, and
wait.
I'll see you later.
Thank you, man.